Hello everyone! I'm so excited about today's recipe because many of you were waiting patiently for this one. So this is it, and it is chleba, which means bread. So we will be making the European style Czech bread. And you know, if you lived in Europe, you visited Europe, you know that we cannot live without our bread. So this is pretty exciting that I can share this recipe with all of you. I used to make my own bread out of a leaven. I made my own leaven, which is like a sourdough starter, but it's too complicated to make a recipe and for all of you to have your own leaven to take care of. So this wasn't an option, but I was still trying to figure it out the ways how I can make this recipe. And recently, my mom's cousin, Marcelka, she visited with her husband, and many of you know her as this amazing egg decorator with a straw technique. She showed me this recipe that she's making for 10 years now, and it was amazing. I couldn't believe it when she made it. I'm like, this tastes like home. So this recipe is based off of that. So I'm so happy she came and she showed me how to use this, how to do this amazing bread. This is pretty simple recipe and you can adjust it as you wish. The flours, you can do more or less of this one, you can do whole wheat, you can do seeds. This is really up to you what you prefer. But this is what I like the most, this combination. And we will need 2.5 cups all-purpose flour, 1.5 cup rye flour, and again, if you want more rye, you can definitely work with it. The total is 4 cups, so you can do as you wish. You can also do whole wheat flour, 2 teaspoons of salt, 2 teaspoons of caraway seeds, plus more on the top of the bread, 3 teaspoons of dry yeast, and I always use just active dry. I don't use the rapid rice, so that's what I'm always using. And then 2 cups of water. You can also substitute for the water whey. Let's say you made my farmer's cheese recipe and then you have the whey left over. Definitely use it for this bread. I do it all the time and it's incredible because it gives you extra protein and extra vitamins and it tastes as good. But what's really important is how we bake this bread. So here I have a cast iron pot, super heavy, and this has to be heated up. So when we get there, I will show you, but you need a pot with handles and the lid that can handle 500 degrees Fahrenheit. So this is the trick. And let me tell you, this recipe is so simple. You don't need any mixing machines, any stand-up mixers, any kneading necessarily. So this is really easy. So I hope you give it a try. So let's start. You can do the bread out of all-purpose flour only if you wish, and it's delicious. But don't forget that you will need more flour for the board. And another thing, this dough will be rising for recommended it's 8 hours up to 12 hours. So you can start it at the evening and then bake it in the morning. Or as I'm doing now, start it in the morning and then bake it at the evening. If you have a warm enough place, 6 hours will also do it, 6-7 hours. So let's go for it. Into our large bowl, let's put 2.5 cups all-purpose flour, 1.5 cup rye flour, 2 teaspoons salt, 2 teaspoons caraway seeds, 3 teaspoons dry yeast, and I always buy it in a bulk, so then I'm using just random glass. Now let's mix the dry ingredients first. Now we add 2 cups of water. want to mix it. I just like to mix it until I don't see any more of the dry flour. This is enough. This is good. And now we will need to cover it. I also scrape it off of the dough from the wooden spoon. And now let's cover it with some wrap. This is a sticky one. It's better to do it this way instead of a kitchen towel. So make sure it's covered so the bugs don't get in and it doesn't dry up on the surface. But it still needs to be able to breathe, which is perfect. And now we will let it sit for, as I say, 8 hours recommended, 8 up to 12 hours. So I will go put it upstairs where it's warmer and let it sit there. And I will see you after it's done. So 6 hours are done, and I have here in a bowl my risen bread. But let's put some flour on the board. Now every flour hydrates differently, so it might be more runny or not. But you don't want to have the dough too floury. It needs to be a little more runny and flat, because this way it's just better. Oh, it smells amazing. So here it is. I like to use this tool to get it out, and I'll dip it in a flour, scraping it off, because you can also put your hands in there, but I know that it's so sticky that it would just be all over my hands. And now we will just need to fold it a few times. But don't have too big of a chunks of flour, because then you will see it in the bread. No big deal. Just fold it. And yeah, it is sticking, but it's fine. And now this is seized. It's kind of very wobbly and runny, but that's actually great. It's fine. I noticed when I did more rye, it was more firm. That means that rye is just sucking more water. And now I kind of just make a bread out of it. And then I put a little flour here so it can rest on it. It doesn't get stuck. Get it. And I just kind of do like this. I don't know. You just play with it a little bit. And now you wanna wash your hands and make them a little wet, because we will just pat it with a wet hand and put the cabbage seeds on top. But make sure that your hands are not too wet, because if it goes underneath the water, then it can really stick to your baking dish, and then you won't be able to get the bread out. So now I will just show you how to do it. So now my hand is still wet, so I just pat it a little bit. It's perfect. And now you can sprinkle cabbage seeds on top. And this will get stuck nicely. Preheat the oven to 500 degrees, and I will show you something, and I'll bring you closer to the oven. Here's my pot, a cast iron, and the lid, and you want to warm it up to 500 degrees before we put the bread in. And that's the secret, because this will help the bread to rise beautiful, and the cover also helps to create the heat inside of the pot. And I'm using it on a all the way from the bottom. This is on a third one. because you want to make sure that when the lid is on, that you don't have anything hindering it. So remove anything above it so you can easily place the lid. You can test it before that, because when it's super hot, it would be hard to test. And now let's heat it up to 500 degrees Fahrenheit. And while it's preheating, that gives the bread the chance to rise a little bit. Oven is still preheating, but look at the bread, it's getting nicely big. And I want to show you, I absolutely love these oven gloves. They are incredible, right here, so you can see actually, because they can handle 500 Fahrenheit, and you will definitely need something that can, so you don't burn yourself, because we will be touching the lid and covering it up and then removing it later. So make sure to get a good oven gloves. The oven is now preheated, so I prepare first the pot. So I open it, I pull this out, and be careful if this is really hot. And then I will just throw the bread in. Okay, here I threw it. Now cover it up right away with a pot and bake it for 25 minutes. And this throwing it in might take you some time to figure it out or actually perfect it, but that's okay, don't worry. After 25 minutes, you want to remove the lid really fast. I don't want to open it because I don't want to lose the heat. And we will bake it then for 8 minutes. So let's remove it. And this is hot, so be careful. I'll put it next to it. Looks beautiful, nicely big. Close it and bake it for 8 minutes. You might need to see how your oven bakes and then adjust it if it needs more baking. When we will remove the bread from the pot, you will need a cooling rack, so we can set it up on here and it can cool off and doesn't have a bottom that's soggy. Now bread is done baking, so let's get it out. Definitely beauty, and remember, this is hot. Okay, so sometimes it's easier to get out, but I will just hold it like that. Look at that bottom. That's just amazing sound. And this is so crispy, beautiful bread. So let it rest here. But you have to now let it sit here for at least an hour. And I know it's a horrible torture because you cannot slice it now. The middle will just smush and it will not be nice looking. But in 1 hour you can slice a little bit on the edge. So I will have to wait for you guys to see how it tastes and also how it looks when it's sliced. And when it cracks like this, it's fine, you know, it's so rustic looking and good height to it. I wanted you to hear this amazing sound. See, this shows how crispy it is. Okay, so I could not wait any longer, so it's been half an hour and I'm ready to slice it. You need a big serrated knife, so let's go for it. Oh my goodness, so amazing. Here it's sliced, look at this. Here, because I didn't wait it 1 hour, but it's not bad. It didn't really crumble up as bad, just a little, as you see. But how can you wait? It's just impossible. So I will put some butter on now. And here I am ready to feast. And when Marcelka was showing me how to make this bread, and she was making it here while visiting, she had to make 2 because it was just disappearing really fast. And I don't blame her because it's so good. So let's see. And I already know this is just incredible. Oh my goodness. It's just like being home. This bread is incredible. It's so soft, crunchy on the outside, it's moist, It's fluffy. The butter, it's European butter, so it tastes amazing just with it. And my favorite is just like this, when it's warm with butter, and then next day, oh, I love it with butter and honey. That's just my favorite. Or any spreads, you know. I made so many videos like the fish spread, egg spread. This is great to put it on the bread. And I wanted to tell you, I wrap it in a clean kitchen towel and keep it like that. And also I cover this open so it doesn't dry up. I cover it with a wrap so it stays just this part, so it doesn't dry up, but the rest stays crunchy. So I like to keep it in a kitchen towel for a few days, and if you don't eat it until then you can put it in a Ziploc. It actually lasts for a week. It lasts for a week and it's still good. And I like to make also this amazing topping out of it, which I will share a recipe, which is a fried bread with garlic on. And I'm sure many of you know what I'm talking about. So I will share the recipe also. So I hope you enjoy this, and I hope that you really make it, because there's nothing like fresh bread. And you know what I'm talking about. So many of us are just craving it, who cannot just go to bakery and buy this European bread. So I hope that you give it a try. If you do, share photos on my Facebook page. I would love to see, or on my Instagram. Have a great day, guys. Bye.